Let's implement that load button, this guy right here, open a task from disk. Let's go to our TaskQueue container.cpp and up in the constructor. It's going to be the same process as the new button. We're going to show a file chooser, we're going to open a file, we're going to load a tree, and if it's cool, we're going to update the settings file and then call load tree. Right, so we'll use the same folder to look in code, this stuff right here. All right, let's stub this guy out. Load button dot on click equals lambda capture this. All right, we're gonna use this same thing, and we'll do the same file chooser. We'll just change the text that's gonna go there. Load a task from disk is what I think we want to say. Load an existing task maybe. All right, now we can do if chooser dot browse for file to open. Now, if you select something, it definitely exists, so we do not need to check if it exists. So we can just do auto result equals chooser.getResult. And then let's load it. So we can just do auto tree equals load tree from disk result. And just make sure it's valid. If tree.is valid. Now our create tree function makes trees with a type of task. So let's see. Let's check for that to make sure we don't open some non-conforming .task file. Just to show you what I mean by that. Let's switch over here to this. You can see our, oh, is this still saying item? Okay, that needs to be changed at some point. Yeah, let's go down here to this thing. Go down here to the create tree function. This shouldn't say item, it should say task now. All right, back up here to this guy. That means we need to get rid of our default, the default.tasks. Let's get rid of this. And we'll recreate them from scratch in just a little bit. Okay, so if tree is valid, we want to make sure that we're loading the correct type of value tree. So we need to check that type. If tree.getType equals identifier task, then we can do our load settings thing. We can basically do this. Get our settings file, load the value tree settings from it, set that property to our new result, save it, and then call load tree again. So this is clearly not very DRY because we're doing this here, which is identical to this here. So at some point we're going to want to refactor that. But until then, let's try it out. And because we made that change to the type, it's going to, and we had to delete the default stuff, it's going to delete those. So it's going to need to recreate those as well. So that's all right. It's part of the development process. Run it. Let's just press play. Oh, we need to bring back our default. Oh, we need to get rid of in our settings file. This is where we need to get rid of our current file because it's looking for that and it's not there. And we didn't write any code yet to handle if the file doesn't exist. So we just saw what it looks like when the task queue has a blank tree. Okay, let's run this again. Okay, now it's going to create it. There we go. Okay, we got our default. Let's make a new one. Test. Yes, save. Oops. Yes, continue. We already saw all of this. This is all fine and good. Continue. We can get rid of some of those JAsserts actually. All right, this is cool. Now we can try clicking the load button and loading our default. Ta-da! Look at that. And we can load our other one as well. Test. Load button is working. Very cool. All right, let's get rid of some of these JAsserts. Let's get rid of that one. Was there another one? The one in the create default tree. Where is that? Where did that go? Oh, that's somewhere down here. It's in create default task. Yeah, this. We can get rid of this. We can get rid of that debug XML as well. Okay, cool. Before we start doing some refactoring on this, this part right here, let's look at our to-do list before we decide what we want to refactor. All right, we can check off another item. First, open a task list from disk. That's gone. Here are a few more items to add now that the app has a bit more functionality. Let's check this out. I noticed something earlier. This hide button completed, the hide completed text right here, this is squeezed. Same with add subtasks. That text is also squeezed, so let's add that guy. button text is squeezed. Let's see. We should definitely have a minimum size limit on this guy at some point. Minimum window size limits. How about button minimum width? That's a thing. Let's see. Let's look at this. Let's add a really long task name. We'll just type a ton of letters. And what happens if we shrink this? Okay, so that's not good. All right, we don't want it to do that. So task text is squeezed. And then check this out. Let's get rid of this guy. And I'm gonna quit and reopen. And look how long it takes for the redo buttons to appear, or to be enabled or disabled. You see that latency right there? That's something that we want to fix. Undo, redo, enabled latency when opening the app. All right, so our to-do list is definitely getting shorter, which is always a good sign. And let's go through this now and see which ones are easy to implement. Okay, so storing the date and time when created and completed, that's pretty easy. It would be cool to have a widget that shows the date and time of the currently selected item, and that might be a bit involved. But maybe we could query the selection monitor for which item is currently selected. That might be a way to go. Let's see, button text is squeezed. I think there are some member functions in the button and text editor classes that control the squeezing of the text. Okay, the minimum window size limits is pretty easy. It just takes time to figure out what we want them to be. That's something that we can set here. It's one of these document window classes or document window member functions. Let's see, undo redo enablement is tied to when this timer first fires. Where is that timer? This guy right here. It's tied to when this fires. So we could just disable those buttons right from the get-go instead of waiting for the timer to do it for us. The show hide completed one is this is a bit more difficult. So what we have to do is basically block the refresh sub items function of TaskQueue item. This guy right here. We basically have to block this from creating a new sub item if that item is marked as completed. And then whenever we click that show hide completed button, we have to refresh the root TaskQueue item, so that way all of the children get recreated. And also, I have some pretty cool ideas about how we could possibly animate the showing and hiding, which I think would be pretty cool. Okay, back to our to-do list. Okay, graphics. So revising the graphics is going to take some time, but it's not difficult. It's just always time intensive. And then multi-window. Okay, this is a big job. Now this would allow having multiple task lists, having multiple lists open at the same time. And we would need to decide if the load or the new button open in a new window or not. So this one is going to require big architecture changes. But when we finish that one, we would know how to make multi-window apps, which is a super useful skill. And let's see, double click in a blank area. I'm kind of on the fence about this one. I think that a keyboard shortcut would be better than doing this, so maybe we'll look at that. Let's see, double click a task file to open it from disk. Okay, I think Producer has a means of registering a file type with the operating system. But we will have to look at how the path of that file that was double clicked gets sent to the app. And I think, I could be mistaken, but I think that I think this thing right here, the command line string that's passed to the initialize function is the file path of the file that you double clicked on. But I need to verify this, and that would mean needing to revise. So if we figure out that that's what this actually is, when we double click on a file, it shows up here in this string argument. We need to revise the way our main window, main component thing is constructed so that the file path can be passed directly to the TaskQueue container. And then the reset tree root thing can be called using that file that was passed in. So this one is definitely involved. This one right here is definitely involved, and it has a lot of steps. Okay, so for the app icon, I would like to just look for a nice app icon on the internet to borrow ideas from, but definitely not steal. And let's see, show task lists file name in the title bar. I think the document window class has some member functions about this. Okay. So that's a lot of stuff. We still have a lot of work to do to polish the app off. I'd say that we are about halfway done.